Hi you guys, welcome to my channel. So today you already know we're going to hop into a strange story. For those of you who already have been subscribed to my channel for a little bit, and for those of you that are new, yes, we're going to be hopping into a strange story for today. And this one is about a guy apparently who like terrified the FBI, I guess, which I'm really interested to see like what this is all about, because I mean, when they say stuff like terrified the FBI, I mean, I guess like they're like the toughest of the tough, I guess. Like they have to have did something like pretty crazy, I guess. But let's go ahead and hop right into the video.
February 2nd, 2012, a young man pulled off a 4-lane highway in Anchorage, Alaska into a large snowy parking lot. He passed by dozens of parked cars until he arrived in front of this small shack that was brightly teal colored. It was a popular coffee shop called the Common Grounds, and this young man worked as a barista there. After he parked his car, he walked up to the white door employee entrance to this little building, and he got his key out and he went to unlock the door, but when he turned the key, he saw the door was already unlocked. He knew the girl who had worked the previous night and would have been responsible for locking the shop up. She was 18-year-old Samantha Koenig, and although she had only been on the job for about a month, she seemed very responsible and had never had any issues closing up before. The young man shrugged it off though. He figured people make mistakes, and he went inside. Right away, he noticed that a couple of things just seemed out of place. It was like Samantha must have just left in the middle of her shift without even attempting to clean up. There were napkins on the ground, there were towels out, there were cups still out. And so as this young man is walking over to the cash register to unlock it, he's running through scenarios in his head about how Samantha could have been so sloppy. And then he reached down with his register key, and just like the door, the cash register was already unlocked.
Oh
when
no,
he pulled
it's
the
time to
tray
leave.
out, all the money was gone. And that's when he knew
Call the
they had been
police.
robbed. And so he called his boss. The night before, Samantha had asked her boyfriend, Dwayne, to pick her up after her shift at the Common Grounds. Dwayne arrived in front of the kiosk at about 8:30 p.m., which was 30 minutes after her shift should have been over. Dwayne had gotten held up at his job, which is why he was late. And so when he gets there, Dwayne looks around the parking lot, and he doesn't see Samantha anywhere. He sees the coffee shop itself is totally dark and looks like it's been closed up for the night. And so Dwayne gets out of his truck into the freezing cold night air, and he walked up to the window of this coffee shop, and he pressed his face up to the glass to look inside, but there was nobody in there. Dwayne automatically went back to the fight he had gotten into with Samantha earlier in the night via text message. She had accused him of cheating on her. He had been kind of nonchalant, like he didn't care about it, and what ensued was a really ugly fight. And so as Dwayne is walking back to his truck, he's thinking to himself, maybe Samantha just didn't want to see him because of the fight, and so at the end of her shift, she got a ride home from her father, or maybe from a friend, and that's why she's not here. And so Dwayne gets back inside of his truck, and he sends a text message to Samantha asking if she's okay, if she's gotten home, but after several minutes of no response from her, Dwayne, even though they were fighting, he still cares an awful lot about his girlfriend. He decides, I gotta go by her house and make sure she's there and that she's okay. And so
Yeah, see, that's a good idea. What would y'all do? Because honestly, yeah, I would think that it makes sense to call her dad or go by her house to make sure she's okay. At least, I mean, the fight couldn't be that big. Like, you want to know if this person is still safe, because it's still weird that if she just asked you to pick her up after her shift, at what point did she just decide, you know what, never mind, I'm just gonna get a ride for somebody else? And then, I mean, she don't tell you that she changed her mind. I mean, I guess unless she's that mad at you, like she don't care, you just gonna show up and figure out once you get there anyways. But still, like, you never know. Like, you know, stuff happens. So it's good that he's going by her house, or he went by her house, was, you know, past tense, whatever, to see if she was okay.
a couple minutes later, he gets to her house, he goes up to the door, and her single father, James, answers the door. Dwayne explains that he didn't see Samantha after her shift and just wanted to make sure she was here, but James says, she's not here. I have no idea where she is. I haven't spoken to her. And so the two men go into James's kitchen, they sit down, and they start texting and calling Samantha to try to figure out where she is. And after a couple of minutes, Dwayne's phone lights up, and it's a text message from Samantha. And the message clearly indicates that she's still very upset with Dwayne, but she's saying that she needs some time to think, and that she's going to be with some friends for a couple of days, and would he, Dwayne, let her father know where she was. And so Dwayne shows James the text message, and Samantha's father looks at it, and he's thinking to himself, you know, this is very uncharacteristic of Samantha.
And if you know, as a parent, like, if that's not like her, a call will do just fine. I need you to call me. I need to hear your voice to make sure that you're fine. Cause like, no, that's not gonna
He
cut
had
it.
raised Samantha since she was 2 years old, and they were very close. They shared everything with each other. It didn't make any sense that she wouldn't contact him
And then she
directly
went,
to
right.
say
She
that
ain't
she
gonna
was
tell him
going
before
to be
she
out
just
with friends for a
disappeared.
couple of days. And it didn't make sense that she would ignore all of his phone calls and text messages when clearly he was worried about her. The two men stayed up super late, calling and texting, hoping to get more information from Samantha, but she never responded. She never texted back. And so the following morning, when neither men had gotten any more messages from Samantha, James went to the Anchorage Police Department and filed a missing person report for his only daughter. After receiving this missing person report, an officer with the Anchorage Police Department called the owner of the Common Grounds coffee shop to ask about Samantha. And the owner actually said they just got a call from their barista that was working at the kiosk that morning, and they had informed them that apparently there had been a robbery and no one can get in touch with Samantha. No one knows where she is. The owner told the police officer that as soon as she got her hands on the security footage from the night before, she would send it over to the police department. While the police waited for this footage, some officers began calling Samantha's friends and other family members to see if they knew where she was, but no one had heard from her and no one knew where she was. No one had any information. Some other police officers headed over to the Common Grounds coffee kiosk to get a look at it for themselves. And when they got there was no sign of a struggle outside or inside the kiosk, and inside, underneath the counter, was a panic button that had not been pressed. And so even though Samantha's father thought there was something odd about her final text message, the police began operating under the theory that Samantha had robbed the
place
kiosk and
and
then left of
left.
her own accord. But what confounded police was how
See, I knew that was going to come next. That at this point, she is not a missing person. Like, yeah, she missing with their money. Like, she's the prime suspect of this robbery. But yeah, I don't know about that though, because like, I mean, I can see how they come to that conclusion. Obviously, I mean, she don't want to answer the phone. She telling them, "Oh, I'm mad at you. I'm gonna be away at some friend's house. The place is robbed. You're not answering nobody calls. The panic button was not pressed." But she may not have been near the panic button when the place was being robbed. And see that right there, if she's not the person who robbed the place, whoever was there to rob the place, and they weren't there, just because usually when somebody's robbing the place and the people that are there and they get like killed or whatever like that, it's usually because like they don't want to be identified, like they don't want to have no witnesses or whatever. So obviously they're not trying to get caught. But they're right there, just like, that's where it's like, dang, that's just messed up, because like this place being robbed is not worth my life. Like, that's why I don't understand people who like try to stop the robbers or jump on them from robbing their like job. Like, oh, this is a job. Like, you can get another job. Like, even if this is your business, this is not worth your life. Like, look, take what you want. Just leave me alone. I'm trying to run out the back door and be gone somewhere. Like,
Samantha actually physically got away
the police
from
can
the
find
coffee
you.
shop. She didn't have a car that night, and she couldn't have just walked away because the weather was way too miserable and cold outside, and Anchorage is just not really a walkable city. And so if Samantha was telling the truth, that she was just taking a couple of days to be by herself with some friends at their place, then why didn't any of her friends know where she was? This question was answered later that day when the owner of the coffee shop made the security footage available. The footage, which has no audio, picks up around 8 p.m. on February 1st, 2012, which was the night Samantha went missing. It shows Samantha inside of the kiosk. She's working alone, she's cheerful, and she's busy. And then at some point, someone that we can't see, they're outside of the camera's range, comes up to the window and orders a drink. Samantha clearly turns to them, acknowledges their drink order, and turns and begins making this drink. And then after she's done making it, she turns to give it to this person, and immediately Samantha steps back and puts her arms up. And then seconds later, she reaches over and turns off the lights inside of the kiosk, and then she gets down on her knees with her back to the window. She stays in that position, not talking, not moving, for about a minute before she slowly stands up and walks down the kiosk towards the cash register. She opens it up, she scoops some money out of it, and then she walks back to the window and appears to hand it to a shadowy figure on the other side of the window, and then Samantha turns, kneels again with her back to the window. 2 more minutes go by before this person outside the window leans their entire upper body inside of the coffee shop. They reach down and they appear to tie Samantha's hands. Now, because it was dark inside of the kiosk, the footage winds up being extremely grainy, and there's no way to identify who this figure is. Although it's fairly obvious that it's a male. He's wearing a big sweatshirt and he's got a hat pulled down low over his face. After this mystery man is done tying Samantha's hands, he leaps through the window and then shuts the window behind him. And then he stands.
At this point, what y'all doing? Y'all fight or what? Like, you put up a fight or what? Because I feel like this. I'm not gonna make it easy for you to kill me. Like, come on. At this point, you're probably gonna most likely try to kill me anyways, whether you comply with this person or not. So no, I'm not about to make it easy for you. I'm gonna be put up a fight. Like, no, we about to put up a fight. We need to look, pick up some stuff, throw it at them. First of all, you need to press that panic button. Like, if you're gonna turn off the lights, I'd be trying to scoot and inch somewhere and pressing that panic button or something like that. Run, I don't know, zigzag around up through that thing or something. Like, I don't know. Saying is, these people are most likely going to kill you anyways. Do not just go out without a fight. Like, it's not about proving that you tough or nothing, but sometimes people that put up a fight actually end up surviving. Like, don't make it easy for these people to go ahead and just take your life and do whatever they want with you. Like,
Samantha up, he puts a gun into her back, and then he marches her out the employee door and then out across the lot, all the way to a white pickup truck where he puts her inside and they drive off. Over the next couple of days, the police and also the FBI, who had been called in to be a part of this investigation, they just kept hitting dead end after dead end because there was no evidence.
Right.
All they had was this surveillance footage that was too grainy to tell who this guy was that took Samantha. Meanwhile, Samantha's father, James, had rallied the support of nearly all 300,000 people that lived in Anchorage to go out and look for his daughter. His efforts were so profound, it had attracted major news outlets across the country, and suddenly his daughter's story had grabbed national headlines everywhere. This led to
and as a parent, I just know he was just like, you want to hold out that faith, like, oh, you'll find your child alive, they'll be okay, but like deep down inside, you just like, I know your heart. I know his heart was just sinking. Like, it's just crushing him, because they say the longer that a person is missing, that's more of like the likelihood of finding them alive is slim. Like,
donating thousands of dollars to
they
fund
could literally
a
be
reward
anywhere
for anybody that had information about Samantha's whereabouts. But despite this reward growing in size every single day and the national news media becoming increasingly more interested in this case, no one came forward with useful information that led to developments in this case, and Samantha never got in touch with Dwayne or her father. Then on February 24th, so 3 weeks after Samantha's gone missing and no one's heard from her, Dwayne got a text message from Samantha's phone, and it was directing him to a particular sign inside of a nearby public park. And so Dwayne and James read this text, they shared it with the police department, and then they raced to this park and actually beat the police there by about 15 minutes. And so Dwayne and James, they walk through the gates and they start walking down this main trail, and they stop in front of this sign. It was actually a bulletin board, and tacked on the bulletin board was a Ziploc bag, inside of which was a typed ransom note, and on the ransom note, literally Xeroxed onto it, was a black and white photo of Samantha. And in this photo, Samantha looks kind of dazed, like she's got a blank expression, and she's not really looking at the camera, she's looking just to the side of the camera. And then in this picture, a man is holding a copy of the Anchorage Daily News newspaper that's dated February 13th, 2012. This was a proof of life photo where Samantha's captor was holding up that newspaper to indicate that Samantha was alive as of February 13th. And so to everybody involved in this case, including Samantha's father, even though this is still not a good situation at all, it was kind of a relief to know that at least as of last week, Samantha was alive. As for the demands of this ransom note, James was told to deposit $30,000 into his daughter's account immediately, and if he did that, she would be released 6 months later. As advised by the FBI...
Wait, what? You want me to deposit what? He want him to, this person wants the father to deposit $30,000 into her bank account, and you gonna release her 6 months later. First of all, it's not about the money, but that's just a bad deal. Like, no, you need to be releasing his child like now. You asking for $30,000 because, hey, $30,000, whatever, I can give you more than that. You can have it all. Release the child now. Like, no, I want to see them now. Like, no. Are you kidding me? 6 months later, and see that right there, that just lets you know that this person is probably lying. Like, she's probably like deceased at this point, because that was a week ago that she was supposed to be alive on that picture. But like I said, it's not about the money, it's just the fact that now you just playing games. Like, come on, are you serious? Like, $30,000, and you talking about you gonna release her 6 months later. If anything, I'll be negotiating. Like, nah, look, I released this. You can have this $30,000 right now. You need to look, release my child right now. Like, you need to release this man's child right now. I don't care. You could have the money, but 6 months later, you tripping. What kind of deal is
James
that?
deposited a portion of the ransom money into his daughter's account, and then the FBI just waited and watched because they knew if anyone tried to withdraw money from that account, they could track where the card was. A few days later, 3 separate withdrawals were made within Anchorage, but each time the FBI got a notification about one of these withdrawals, they would rush to the scene, and whoever it was that had tried to make this withdrawal was long gone. When they pulled the security footage from these 3 different ATMs, the person that was making these withdrawals was a man wearing a ski mask and big sunglasses, so they had no way to identify him. After these withdrawals, the account went silent for over a week, and in that time, there was no word from Samantha.
I mean, how many banks would have been in that area of Anchorage or whatever? Because that would have been the next thing. I mean, I would think, like, if they really trying to save the girl life, if the police think that she's really, like, still alive, you just have some undercover cops or something posted up outside of these banks.
Then on March 7th, more withdrawals were made, but they were in Arizona, and then in Mexico, and then in Texas. Again, authorities would rush to these ATMs, but they would get there right after the masked man with sunglasses had just left. But there was a break this time. In one of these surveillance videos from one of the Texas ATMs, they spotted the car this guy was getting into before he left. And it was a small sedan, it was a white Ford Focus, and they saw him leave going east on a Texas highway. And so authorities in Texas were told to look out for this particular car in this part of Texas. And sure enough, on March 13th, a Texas patrolman spotted the car sitting in a hotel parking lot. He waited nearby until a man in his 30s walked out of one of the hotel rooms, walked down and got inside the car, and then this patrolman just kind of followed him and looked for any reason to pull him over. And as he had his radar gun on this guy, he noticed he was going 2 miles per hour above the speed limit, and so he pulled him over.
Said that was
the
enough.
patrolman got out, he walked up to the driver's side window, the window was already down, the man was very calm. The patrolman asked him for his license, and the guy handed him an Alaskan license. His name was Israel Keys, he was 34 years old, and he lived in Anchorage. The patrolman knew this was the guy. He called in backup, and before long they were searching Keys' car, and in the trunk they found a ski mask along with other clothes that matched the description of the guy who was making withdrawals from these different ATMs. They also found a gun, as well as Samantha's cell phone and debit card. After Keys was arrested and was brought into custody, he denied having any involvement with Samantha's disappearance. But after being presented with the overwhelming evidence that suggested otherwise, he caved and said yes, he would tell them the full story of what happened to Samantha, but they had to get him an Americano coffee, a peanut butter...
And then that right there is like, that's it. Like, not to be negative, but it's like, oh my, that is like the worst. Like, they find a man, but Samantha is nowhere in sight. I mean, at that point, come on. Obviously, where's she at? 9 times out of 10, she's no more. Like, Samantha is long gone. That's the messed up part about it. Like, come on, man. Like I said, he told this man to give him $30,000 and he'll release him after 6 months. He was saying 6 months to give him enough time to get gone wherever he was gonna be or whatever. Like, I think, like I said, that was a week ago with the picture showing her alive. Like, he probably had already killed her, like, by then.
Snickers and a cigar. Once he had said items, he began to speak. And what he said was so disturbing and so graphic, the FBI still has not released the full transcript of his confession. Here is the version of events based on what was made public. On February 1st, 2012, Keys decided he was going to rob the Common Grounds coffee kiosk. He walked up to the window expecting there to be some teenager working inside, and he was right. It was Samantha. He asked her for an Americano, and while she turned to make his drink, suddenly his plan changed. Not only was he going to steal money from inside of this coffee shop, he decided he was going to steal Samantha from this coffee shop. When she turned back with his drink and handed it to him, he discreetly pulled his gun out and aimed it at her and told her this was a robbery. That's when she backed up and put her hands up, and then she turned around.
My thing is, hold on, did she still have the hot Americano on her hand? Because they said obviously the window was big enough for him to lean through it or something, like, unless, I mean, it was just like one of the windows where, like, the face part, like, is covered. He must have bent down, leaned through it, whatever. But his hand had to still be poking out with that gun. I would have tried to step to the side of the road a little bit to be out the range of that gun. Should have threw that hot coffee on his hand and pressed that panic button. Something. I said, man, look, don't. That's sad. This is sad. Like, obviously, I'm sure Mr. Ballin is finna tell us that the girl is, like, gone. Like, she's not alive anymore. But like I said, y'all, do not make it easy for these people to kidnap, to kill you. Like, robbery, whatever the situation is, because 9 times out of 10, they plan on killing you anyways. Like,
He tied her
at
hands.
least put up a fight with the chance of
and then he said
surviving,
after he shut the window,
possibly.
he jammed napkins inside of her mouth so she couldn't make any sound. And then he marched her out the door, outside, into his car, and they took off. Once they were in the vehicle, he pulled the napkins out of her mouth, and he told her if she tried to escape or if she tried to flag anybody down, that he would just kill her. And so he said she was very obedient.
Look.
She was obviously very scared, but she was trying to do her best to stay composed. At some
And
point,
you know, too, though, like, this is a teenager, so even, like, with grown women, too, or whatever, like, yeah, I get it. Like, they still think if they be compliant, they're just gonna let them go. Like, but if you thinking that, I'm here to tell you, no, put up a fight. Put up a fight.
Keys reached over and took her phone and sent that text message to her boyfriend informing him that she was going to be spending a couple of days with friends. And
especially if the person that's, like, doing this to you or kidnapping you don't have on no mask or nothing, put up a fight. Because even if they do have a mask or whatever, like I said, 9 times out of 10, they plan on killing you anyways. Like, they have no plans on letting you go. Like, no matter how compliant you are.
He should tell her father. And then Keys told Samantha he was going to be holding her hostage and trying to extract some ransom money. Samantha told Keys that her family was very poor and that he wouldn't get much money out of them. To which Keys said, "Don't worry about it. I know they'll raise money and they'll come up with it somehow." Then they drove around Anchorage for several hours, periodically stopping so Samantha could get out and relieve herself, other times so Keys could smoke a cigar. Then around midnight, Keys made his way back to his house and he pulled into the driveway and he turned to Samantha and he had her go in the back seat and lie down. Then he put some tarps over her and he told her if she tried to escape, he would kill her. And then Keys got out and he walked inside of his house where his 10-year-old daughter and his girlfriend were fast asleep.
This person has a whole family? I mean, you hear about stuff like that. This is crazy. Like, oh my, what are the signs to look for? Like, that you possibly have a partner that's out just crazy like this or doing stuff like this to people and you don't know. There's no signs. You don't know. He has a daughter of his own. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, are you serious? Like, and oh my gosh, like, oh. We have to teach our kids young. No, like I said, put up a fight. He plan on killing you anyway. So I'm gonna kill you if you try to escape. This man go in the house. You better bust the windows out, lock the doors up, get out of there, run out of there. I don't care where you go. Go beat on the neighbor's door down the street or something. Like, especially like he went in his house. Like, he didn't. I mean, this is a good time to try to escape. He didn't try to tie her up in the house or nothing like that. He left her in the truck. Just trying to instill fear in her alone, telling her if she tries to escape, I'm going to kill you. And he just goes to the house for the rest of the night. No, baby, we escaping. We trying to get up out of there.
Just a few hours, Keys and his daughter were scheduled to go to New Orleans for a 2-week-long luxury cruise. Keys left his house and went back to his car. He put a blindfold
on. So he kidnapping people and robbing for a cruise?
Samantha and then led her down the driveway to his shed. Once inside, he sat her down on an upturned bucket in the back of the shed, and then he put a rope around her neck and he anchored each end of the rope to the wall so she was pinned to the wall. Then Keys turned his radio all the way up to make sure it masked any noise she might make, even though he reminded her repeatedly that if she made any noise, he would just kill her, and by and large, she was very obedient. And then he gave her a couple of cigarettes to smoke and told her it was going to be just fine, to just chill out, that he was going to get the ransom money from their family, and then as soon as that was done, he would let her go. He turned on some space heaters to keep the space warm, and then he left and locked the door. He walked back into his house and double-checked that his daughter and his girlfriend were still asleep. They were. Afterwards, he started drinking...
Hold on, wait a minute. Let me put some sense up in it. First of all, he chained her to a wall, pinned her up against the wall, whatever, and turned the music up in the basement, and he just walking around. Or, first of all, the girlfriend sleeping through that noise. Second of all, I'll be asking my husband, like, why do you just have music just blazing downstairs in the basement? You're not even down there. Even if he was down there, like, I don't know. I would think most people, like, especially as a nosy, like, girlfriend or wife or whatever. I mean, I'm trying to see, like, especially if I've been asleep all night, where's my husband at? See, you know, how you doing this morning? Good morning, whatever. Usually gonna go try to find and see where they at. Like, so if he was even if he was in the basement, like, at some point, and you're down there listening to music and doing all that, you gonna see what they doing down there. you know, how they day going, whatever. I don't know. I mean, I know that's just not me. Like, that's like, come on, typical of a partner. I mean, even as a parent, like, you checking on your kids, see what they're doing. Like, what's going on? Like, how's your day going? Or how you doing that? Whatever. Like, come on.
Some wine and relaxing, and then after a little while, he got a cup of water and he went back out to the shed.
They must
He
be
went
some heavy
inside and he
sleepers.
gave the water to Samantha, and he said Samantha was very composed. She was obviously frightened, but she asked him, "Did you speak to my father? Did you figure out the ransom situation?" And Keyes told her that, "Yes, I talked to your father. Everything's working out fine. He's going to raise the money. We're going to get you out of here. Everything's going exactly to plan." After that, he walked up to Samantha and he unscrewed the 2 anchors that were holding that rope up against her throat, and then he cut the zip ties on her wrist, allowing her to relax and sit forward and just kind of be at ease for a second. And it was very obvious that Samantha was relieved. Her nightmare was about to be over. But then seconds later, Keyes grabbed her really aggressively and tied her up all over again, this time much more thoroughly and much more tightly.
Yeah, he's tripping, and then he messing with her emotions because, like, it's like he's giving her hope, and then he's snatching it right back away from her again. Like, giving her a little hope, and then snatching it right back away. Just with the little stuff that he doing. Like, oh, you okay?
Had been a cruel trick. When he cut her handcuffs and undid her necktie, he just wanted to see what she would do if she thought she was being let go. When in reality, he was never going to let her go. There was no ransom. He had not spoken to her father. It was all a big lie. Keyes told investigators that as he was tying her up for that second time, he looked at her face, and she had this look of total resignation. He said she knew what was about to happen to her. After Keyes tied her up, he left the shed and locked it behind him. He went inside to check one more time to make sure his 10-year-old daughter and his girlfriend were still asleep. When they were, he went back to the shed, he opened it up, he went inside, and this time when he stepped inside, it smelled like urine and sweat, and he looked down at Samantha and she was terrified. He walked up to her and he began to assault her, and then after he was done, he was standing over her getting his clothes back on, and Samantha very stoically looks up at him and says, "Are you going to kill me?" And he says, "Yes, I am." As he put on his leather gloves, she tried to talk him out of it, but he said there was no other way. Keyes would tell investigators that he was very impressed with Samantha's bravery. Shortly before 4 a.m., Keyes drove a knife into Samantha's back before choking her until she stopped moving. He told investigators that she never made a sound. After she was dead, Keyes left the shed and locked it behind him. He went into his house, he took a shower. Afterwards, he woke up his daughter and told her to start getting ready because they were leaving soon.
And this is what's really throwing me off. This person has a kid, and then he has a daughter. Could you imagine? Like, you have a kid with somebody like this, and you don't even know it. Are there no signs? Are there no signs? Like, if there are signs, somebody let me know. Let me know. Like, we could be out here helping somebody. Shoot, we out here helping people. Like, are there no signs that you're messing with a freaking sick person? Like this, like...
For the airport. While his daughter was getting ready, Keyes went back out to the shed. He went inside. He rolled Samantha's body up in a tarp and pushed her towards the back. He unplugged the space heaters, turned off the lights, turned off the music, and then double locked the shed and went back inside the house to make his daughter breakfast. At 5 a.m., a cab showed up at the house, and Keyes and his daughter hopped inside, and they made their way to the airport and then on to New Orleans, where they went on their 2-week-long vacation. After they got back, Keyes went inside of his shed. He unrolled Samantha from her tarp, and by his account, she still looked fairly lively, and so he dressed her in some new clothes. He put lots of makeup on her face. He braided her hair, and then he stitched her eyelids open so it gave the impression she was alive and alert. And then he held up a copy of the Anchorage Daily News next to her, and then took several photos, creating that proof of life photo for the ransom note. If you want to see this photo, you can Google it, but that's up to you. After he took these pictures, he chopped her body up into pieces and then disposed of her in a nearby frozen lake. It would turn out Samantha was not Israel Keyes' first victim. He was in fact a serial killer who specifically preyed on completely random people because he enjoyed watching them die. Over the years, he had hid what he called kill kits all over the United States, which were these caches filled with weapons and other tools designed to capture and kill people. This way, no matter where he was in the country, when he had an urge to go kill someone, he would just go to his nearest kill kit, dig it up, and then go target a random stranger. And he didn't care if you were young, old, big, small, male, female, alone, or in a group. Everyone was a target of opportunity. Keyes told investigators that as soon as he saw Samantha inside of that coffee kiosk, instantly he knew he was going to kill her. Everything about the ransom, the robbery, all of it was just a lie to keep her in line, to give her some hope that she might get out of this alive. When in reality, the second she walked outside of the doors of that kiosk, she was dead. Keyes admitted to killing Samantha as well as an older couple up in Vermont, but he would take his own life in a jail cell in December of 2012 before he named any of his other victims. And so to this day, we have no idea how many people he killed. The best guess is 11 based on a drawing he made in his jail cell, but that's just a guess. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's video,
that is crazy. I mean, again, are there no signs? Like, this lady out here has a family with a serial killer. Like, and how does the serial killer decide who you're gonna make your significant other or have kids with or whatever? Like, that's good enough that you just don't want to kill, because you're a serial killer. So I'm thinking, like, I mean, nobody's safe. That's the crazy part. Like, you killing everybody else, loved ones and stuff, but you don't have the urge to kill your own. Like, so you just, what? I don't know. It just don't make sense. Like, make it make sense. Like, and then he even went as far, come on. I mean, this dude got time to store kill kits around. Like, so whatever part in the country, like Mr. Ball said that he's in, he's just gonna go find his kill kit and, you know, off his next victim. Yeah, this one is crazy. Like I said, again, is there no signs? If there are signs, let me know, because that's just crazy. Also, second of all, too, put up a fight, because like I said, 9 times out of 10, really 10 times out of 10, they plan on getting rid of you anyways. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video, and I post Monday through Friday, so for specific uploads, just check that down in the description section below. And yes, you guys, bye.